8:46 a.m., New York City, New York. American Airlines Flight 11 is allegedly flown into the North Tower by Mohammed Atta. This is the widely known video of the attack, shot by Jules Naudet. At face value, it may not look like much. However, upon closer inspection, in case you missed it, one more time. If you look closely, you'll notice that the shadow of the plane meets the building after the flash occurs. This means that the flash is not the fuselage colliding with the building, but rather a separate event. Not to mention that the flash is twice as wide as the fuselage itself. Within minutes of the attack, news teams from all over the city had their cameras trained on the World Trade Center. Therefore, the second impact was covered by almost every conceivable angle. This footage was shot by CNN. On the underside of the fuselage, an extra piece of equipment is visible. When questioned about this, Boeing representatives refused to discuss it. This is what the underside of a Boeing 767 should look like. The following footage is taken from the documentary Why the Towers Fell. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Bring it back. Did you catch that? A missile is fired seconds before impact. Skeptics claim that the flash is the fuselage colliding with the building. If that were the case, it would look like this. The flash is also present in footage taken by Evan Fairbanks, Jennifer Spell, and CNN. Al-Qaeda certainly couldn't have added this equipment at Logan International Airport. And even if they did, the flight crew would have noticed it. So where did this plane come from?
Interesting. Now, I'm sure, welcome to the Gilchrist Experience. Those of you that have been watching Gilchrist Experience, you know we ran pieces like this in 2002 to 2003, and we're always referring to the first bamboozle of the American public. This claim that the two towers were taken down by two planes, 110 stories, falling in 10 seconds by two planes. It's all conspiracy theory, and we've been talking about this for years. But this is the first lie. The real estate tycoons, Silverman, to speak, you should see some of the other stuff I'll show you on this one. But this is a real estate, Byron's, it's a real estate scheme. All I'm doing is showing you who's running America. You know, the what, tycoons of real estate, as Trump is, and his billions have taken over America now? What say, Brother Leroy?
That's, first of all, thank you for the invitation to be a part of your show again. And we're missing our partner who is doing
on jury duty.
His duty, and all respect to him and the folks who are used to seeing him. The situation with 9/11 was part, when I first saw it, they were saying how the fire had brought the building down, but as I was looking at it, they're telling you one thing, but your mind experience is telling you another. And the mind experience was having seen old hotels and stadiums being brought down. And I'm looking at that, but the commentators are telling you something else. And that is part of the game that you're referring to. And when you show something like this, you have more questions being raised by the people who are taken in by the game than they're saying, you know, maybe they have really something there. But overall, it is a benefit to the public for this to be shown, because it's not going to be seen outside of the internet.
Right.
It's not going to be seen on CBS, NBC,
That's right.
etc. It's just ironic that this morning on a show on BAI called Guns and Butter, he talks about false flag operations. This particular guest, I'm not going to call his name because I call it wrong, but gunsandbutter.org is where you go to get the information on who was on this morning. He's working on a book of false flag operations. False flag meaning they tell you it's one thing, but it's really another. The flag that they tell you it is.
When you say guns and butter, you mean war instead of peace.
Well,
That's what the term, that's an economic term.
right. Well, Guns and Butter is one of the most informative shows that one can access on WBAI. It comes on Wednesday mornings at 9, right after Democracy Now! But they also they also on Gary Knowles' public radio network, and the shows are archived there. Public Radio Network .com, publicradionetwork.com, and folks can go there for Guns and Butter, for the show Guns and Butter. But I'm just saying that it's ironic that I just caught the tail end this morning, and this lady, her name is Faulkner, who produces the show, brings a wealth of information by way of guests. So the individual that you just played, people like him would be on her show. I don't know who that person was, but the public should really pay attention to also 9/11 Truth.
Right.
9/11 Truth is either .org or .com.
I played that several times.
So when you say taking over, I think that there are folks who operate in real estate, there are folks who operate in finance, there are folks who operate in the military, but they all have the same intent.
Right.
They all have the same philosophy, to gain as much wealth from the masses as they can. And it's the kind of thinking that you and I don't have, because our upbringing is live and let live. And we're not preoccupied with taking something from someone else and not allowing
what
them
people
to live.
don't realize is that this real estate broker, Silverstein, bought leased the Twin Towers 9 months before it was taken down, all right? And he made it for double indemnity for terrorism. All right, so this is nothing but a big real estate scam. So I played it in reference to the tycoon that's in the White House now, and the scam that he ran with the Russians.
Well, that piece with the Russians, based on the readings that I've done, comes straight out of the Hillary campaign to devalue or set him up. It began when he and she were running for president. So their particular approach was to paint him with the Russians. Whatever basis there is, that comes out of their thing. When I say their thing, their scheme of things, that I'm not even concerned with that as an individual.
The Russians?
Look, you and I grew up
when
in
you
the
had to
50s,
dive underneath the chairs worrying about the Russians.
worrying about the Russians, and then we've lived through the period where the Russians are our friends, and now we're living through another period where the Russians aren't our friends.
Well, Putin is a gangster. Let's make it plain and simple.
Well,
is he not a gangster?
I don't know, and I don't care.
No, you should care. I mean, these
How
guys...
does that impact on the brothers and sisters on 125th Street and Lexington Avenue who come over from Ward's Island every day who are homeless.
How does it impact them?
Yes.
It makes things worse.
How?
Well,
I'm not challenging you. I just don't know.
You see, if Medicare disappears,
that
right.
ain't Putin. That's Trump doing that.
well, Putin put Trump in there because he didn't like Hillary. You know,
Well,
Hillary and Putin have been at it for quite a few years now.
Well, I can't even talk on that one.
Well,
Because I'm always using the analogy of the big house and us in the field.
right.
And when you look in the big house and they fussing and fighting, ain't no need to join which side, because they both giving us hell. And I'm not saying that Russians are great, because they have had issues with Africans who've been over in Russia themselves. At the same time, some of the leading historical figures in Russia are black men. All right? Pushkin, they're leading. But in terms of Putin, you know, there are Russians who have businesses right here in New York who've been associated with the opposite of Putin, and who have been in his camp. They have businesses right here in New York, right
Donald
here in
Trump.
New York City.
Most of the real estate in Trump Towers is owned by Russians.
Well, let me just say this. In terms of Trump, this is this past Sunday's New York Times Sunday Review, and it's dated June 25, 2017, and it says the anti-legacy. This is the anti-legacy Trump versus
that's the
Obama.
problem. That's right.
This article speaks to how engaged, how preoccupied Trump is with dismantling whatever Obama did.
And that started by the birtherism of Trump back in 2010, 2011.
That started.
He started the whole scam and said
Okay.
to another reporter, Trump, that only reason he didn't really believe that Obama wasn't born in America, but he told those lies because he thought the Republicans are stupid enough to believe it.
Right, yeah.
Did anybody really believe that Obama was not born in America? Maybe they thought, Hawaii wasn't part of America. You know, there might be a couple of states running around believe that.
That is not way out.
I know.
You talk to some of Trump's people, and they
might-
thought Obamacare was Obamacare until they found out that it was the Affordable Care Act. All right?
Well, it's the same thing as 9/11. Trump has bamboozled everybody.
I don't have any.
All right? But why aren't people concerned about the Russians? Aren't you concerned about the Russians coming in and disrupting our system here? Wouldn't you rather have Hillary in the big house rather than Trump in the big house?
When you talk about disrupting,
It's already disrupted on our part.
Look.
But I see, would we have more? Would we have?
let me tell you a disruption that touches on black people right here in New York City, right here in Harlem. Harlem has been gerrymandered.
Okay.
Harlem has been gerrymandered all the way up into Riverdale, New York City. So when you talk about disruption, we have to look right in our own backyard. When you talk about disruption, you look at the governments that have been, the legally elected governments that have been overthrown by these very same people who are saying that the Russians have intruded in the elections in New York, in America. So in the countries that they've overthrown, the most recent one is Libya. And it just came out, Foreign Policy, the Journal of Foreign Policy, some of the emails that have been uncovered point to how they were slaughtering Africans in Libya after Gaddafi was overthrown and killed. They were slaughtering Africans under the guise that they were soldiers, but they weren't. They were workers who were working in Libya. This is under the administration of Hillary Clinton and President Obama. Okay? So
Right.
when we talk about what's going on in the big house, we have to really look at who's doing what and to whom. Whenever it's something done negatively to black people, whether it's done here in America or whether it's in the Caribbean or whether it's in Libya, Africa,
Okay.
then I'm concerned with that. I'm not concerned with these guys fighting one another, because we have to be concerned with the survival of black people in America. And it can be tied into them, but Trump up and by himself is making moves that is not only detrimental to black people, but to Caucasians.
American spirit.
And it's done under the guise of anti-Obama, when it's really anti-black people.
There you go. That was my point.
We agree.
My whole point was that I'd rather have Hillary in the big house than Trump in the big house.
Well, that's the question for you to answer.
No, I just answered. You just answered it.
I answered it for you.
Are we doing better off with Trump in the White House or with Hillary in the White House?
Well, it's one thing to have someone...
Should it be a concern of black people?
It's one thing to have someone who you know is poisoning you, bringing poison to the table, and it's another situation to have someone smile, dance at your parties, the husband might play a saxophone, and they poisoning everybody on the QT, on the low.
So Trump is better than having that?
I'm not, brother, it's the wolf and the fox and the wolf.
So they're one and the same. So we didn't have
Black people are so talented that we should look at determining our own destiny. And we can do that without choosing sides of Trump, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, or even Obama. We have to look at the power.
Why did we have more support for Obama?
I don't know about him not having support.
Well, we had a lot of noise from everybody around us, you know, and I was talking about how y'all didn't support my man now.
Listen.
Come on, you don't get into that
The
one.
man didn't want no black people to support him.
Ooh.
The man didn't want, if he wanted black people to support him, he would have done things outside of having parties with Jay-Z and Beyonce and Aretha Franklin, which is all good because they got paid. I'm for black people getting paid. But what about, look, Trump brought in showcasing the blacks, the presidents from historical black colleges and universities. There was a meeting that I heard that Obama had with the same people, but it wasn't no public thing. And he said some things that never reached the public, never reached the black public. But going on here, see, I can't repeat them, but I believe them.
So you prefer having Trump in the White House rather than Obama or Hillary?
If Trump is the hand that we can see that is in danger to us, then we better get ourselves
see, now
together.
we're talking. Now we know. You're happy because Trump is in there. Now we know what the... Oh, I see.
A lady said that to me.
I know a lot of black people are happy we got Trump in there.
A lady said that to me out at BAM, the Brooklyn Academy of Music Festival, a few weeks ago. She said, yeah, y'all were for Trump. She said Minister Farrakhan was for Trump. Yeah, he was for Trump. And I'm looking at this lady.
Why isn't he saying anything against Trump?
Why what?
Why isn't Farrakhan saying anything against Trump?
He said Trump would take America to hell in a gasoline jacket.
What?
So
would Hillary have done that? Don't you think we should have talked to Hillary? Did Obama do a good job?
I think we should have had tea and cheesecake with Hillary Clinton and had her hypnotize us just like they did in the movie Get Out. All right?
Oh. That's a good movie. That's a good, I mean, if you get a chance, I don't know why you put that one up.
That was God.
That's terrible. Damn, Leroy.
That's Hillary Clinton. She says, yes, Winston, what did you say? Yes, oh, yes. Oh, that Leroy? Oh, you get that Leroy in here. We'll fix him up.
Man.
We'll detox him real quick.
See, that's a brainwash that nobody should go through. But I see a sunnier side with Hillary in there. We wouldn't go into. We've got a fool in the White House now. All right, you know what I'm going to do, and then we're going to have
Our guests,
our guests call in, and we'll talk about health.
Dr.
But I
Velma
want to run a
Bowles.
piece on Trump lies. All right, and Hillary lied nowhere near. I don't know why anybody would want this fool in the White House, but Leroy's endorsed him. All right, Leroy, my brother Leroy.
Because it's not just the political system that's rigged, it's the whole economy. It's rigged by big donors who want to keep wages down. Taxes too high, wages too high. We're not going to be able to compete against the world. I hate to say it, but we have to leave it the way it is. It's rigged by big businesses who want to leave our country, fire our workers, and sell their products back into the United States with absolutely no consequences for them.
As a line of clothing. Now, where were these made? These were made, I don't know where they were made, but they were made someplace. But they're great. It's ties, shirts, cufflinks, everything sold at Macy's, and they're doing great. #1 selling tie anywhere in the world. #1 selling tie anywhere in the world.
Wear that shirt,
you wouldn't wear that
we
shirt?
We also have them in white and beautiful white.
Where are the shirts made? Bangladesh.
Well, it's good.
Okay.
We employ people in Bangladesh. It's
Ties? Where are the ties
They
made?
have to work
These are
too.
beautiful ties.
They are great ties.
The ties are made in where? China? Ties are made in China.
But here, and this is the way it is the bottom line. I started off in Brooklyn, New York, not so long ago, with a small loan. And built a business that today is worth well over $10 billion. If I'm elected president, I will end the special interest monopoly in Washington, D.C. Our country will be better off when we start making our own products again, bringing our once great manufacturing capabilities back to the shores. I mean, we have to bring our manufacturers back to the United States. Desperately needed. Desperately, we need those jobs. And we need it even from our psyche. Hillary Clinton supported Bill Clinton's disastrous and totally disastrous NAFTA. Thanks to Hillary Clinton, Iran is now the dominant Islamic power in the Middle East and on the road to nuclear weapons. Hillary Clinton's support for violent regime change in Syria has thrown the country into one of the bloodiest civil wars anyone has ever seen. ISIS threatens us today because of the decisions Hillary Clinton has made along with President Obama. Though I was not in government service, I was among the earliest to criticize the rush to war. And yes, even before the war ever started.
Are you for invading Iraq?
Yeah, I guess so. You know, I wish it was. I wish the first time it was done correctly.
She simply lacks the integrity and temperament to serve in the office. From the bottom of my soul, I know this to be true. Under her plan, we would admit hundreds of thousands of refugees from the most dangerous countries on earth with no way to screen who they are, what they believe, where they come from. The father of the Orlando shooter was a Taliban supporter from Afghanistan, one of the most repressive anti-gay and anti-woman regimes on earth. She's pledged to grant mass amnesty and in her first 100 days end virtually all immigration enforcement and thus create totally open borders for the United States. Totally open borders. Hillary also wants to spend hundreds of billions of dollars to settle Middle Eastern refugees in the United States on top of the current record level of immigration that we already have. For the amount of money Hillary Clinton would like to spend on refugees, we could rebuild every inner city in America. Will lift restrictions on energy production. We will repeal and replace job-killing Obamacare. It is a total disaster. And we are, by the way, the highest taxed nation in the world. Please remember that. Hillary Clinton's message is old and tired. Americans are the people that tamed the West. That dug out the Panama Canal. That sent satellites across the solar system. Americans, Americans, the people that we love, Americans, America first. We are going to make America rich again.
There's the man that you want in the White House, all right? Now, thieving killer Hillary and Libya and the rest of the thing. But here we have a true racist Klansman. His father was a Klansman.
Do you want to talk to her now? She's still.
All right.
She's ready.
What's her name?
Dr. Velva Bowles.
Dr. Velva Bowles has been watching the shows, and we're going to talk about the health of America after this liar and has turned one of our civil servants, a brother, against Obama.
Well, let me just say this before Dr. Bowles comes on, and that is, your show is extremely popular. I'm out there on the street. Yesterday, one of your fans, one of the show's fans, her name is Sister Dolores. I met her on 127th Street. Oh, and she's not the only one. So that means people are going to believe Winston over Brother Leroy saying, look, don't put that on me, but you'll give me a chance to interact before. And now we should go to Dr. Velva Bowles.
I'm just showing you what the fool is like.
Hey, listen.
I mean, I can prove it.
Here's one thing, one lesson, one lesson. The others that we should learn from Trump. He put his whole family on payroll.
That's right.
His whole family on
he's
payroll,
slick.
and put his junior son-in-law, put him into a diplomat's status, and the guy doesn't know anything about that. So that's the
Obama
lesson.
should have done that, huh? Free everybody and don't touch Libya and and black power every press conference. This is for the black people.
Dr.
But he
Bowles.
he was for all American.
Doc-
What the problem with Obama was, and you can see in his Russian scheme, he tried to be too fair.
Well,
That's why he was my main person. I thought he was a blessing from God because he was a fair-minded person and half black, half white.
he was
Now,
a blessing. He is a blessing because he shows, in one respect, how intelligent black people can be and capable
How-
of leading themselves.
That's right.
Okay, and motivating themselves if they so choose. In another aspect, he shows an example of someone who did not align himself with black people in order to serve everybody and winds up not serving anybody but
No, he
himself.
did. He served a true purpose.
Dr.
Look what
Bowles.
we had. Look what took over. He came in and demeaned, chastised, and lied on Obama. Talked about his mama, and we had black people talking about his mama. We had black people not saying Obama wasn't black enough.
Well,
I think my brother, he just said on this show that he was not of our culture.
it was
That
his
he
choosing.
wasn't. That he cared more about America than he did Libya. Didn't he?
It's called freedom, justice, and equality. And that's how we have to govern our lives.
Okay.
Freedom, justice, and equality.
Amen.
Forget about being a fan of this or that.
Well,
We
what
have to
color we
make
are.
and be true to our tradition of freedom, justice, and equality.
When are we going to learn to get along with each other and stop killing each other?
That is in the mix.
Amen.
When we
Now,
get a
when Trump
knowledge,
comes into play and we have more racism than ever before, he's taking everything decent that Obama did, including Obamacare, and turning everybody off. Isn't that what he's doing? You see the lies that he's telling?
is showing black people once again what we're dealing with. We cannot wait another 4 years for some savior to come in. We have to do things right now to save ourselves and our families and black youth. That's what we get. That's what I get from this whole scenario
Okay.
back and forth.
All right.
Okay? It's what do we do?
All right.
What must we do? I'm not saying I got the answer,
Get it
but we
good.
have to begin to ask those questions. We have to begin to stop buying 50, 70 pairs of sneakers, and you can't even get into somebody's room because they got sneakers blocking the door.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to begin to say, how can I put something away to save myself
You
and
have
my
to look
family?
within ourselves and find out
And the
what
reason,
we're doing wrong.
The reason Dr. Bowles is a very valuable source of information is because she speaks in a number of areas, primarily in the health area.
Okay.
And if they take away the health, then what are we going to do? We have to have more knowledge in order to save ourselves in the
All
health
right, Doc,
standpoint.
I think we really need mental health. We got some crazy black people out here. Never mind the white crazies, but I'm talking about the black crazy. Because being black can drive you crazy. With all the, if you have the basic
That's true.
fairness, if you're looking for fairness and equality and all the obstacles that we have to overcome, being black in America, remember we're talking about, this is a black experience from my point of view. That's why I have this show. All I'm doing is show you how I came up black.
Let's ask Dr.
All right?
Bowles
so
about
let's
that.
have Dr. Bowles come on the phone, Doc. My wife.
I'm listening. I'm enjoying this discourse because by virtue of being black,
Amen.
we're put into a mental health situation.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Now, how do we cure it? Of course, we got to have God in our lives. I mean, that's the antibiotic.
Dr. Bowles,
That's
Dr. Bowles,
purifier.
give us, you know, just on this last point about the stress, which Brother Winston has brought up, the mental imbalance that comes about dealing with white supremacy,
Right.
left
There you
and
go.
right, not
There you
being
go.
affirmed, and talk about it from the standpoint of what we would call blue collar workers and white collar workers,
Yeah.
professionals who feel that they have the qualifications to make it in a certain thing and not be there. You're on, sis.
Okay. When you talk about the professional black person, very few people talk about the vicissitudes that have to be overcome in order to emerge into what is called the white accepted standard of professionalism. I can tell you anecdotally that during my training in medical school, there were some highly offensive and perhaps even criminal acts that were freely done to any black female competing in the white male-dominated spheres. And there were no avenues in which we could vent. That if we talked to those in charge, they would answer saying, you want to be in this arena, and this is what comes with it. And if you talk to the black person who had never experienced what you were describing, most of them would say something like, let's pray about it, or the 23rd Psalm. So it was a very isolating and frightening, oftentimes, situation trying to perform and excel in the white American design system. So if you're a white-collar professional black American, you had to learn to become a bit schizophrenic. You have to pretend insults don't hurt. You have to pretend being left out of the social dynamics does not affect you. If you are inappropriately touched by a white male dominant figure and you are a black female, you have to report to work the next hour or the next day and act as if nothing happened. So those types of psyche insults can certainly build up. And they make light of it. Some will say the angry black woman, or they'll say the aggressive black woman. But I've never seen anyone on the Spike Lee level tell the story of the very encumbered black woman. And it's interesting for those of us who have finally gotten to the other side, got some letters behind our name, we don't want it talked about. If I talk to someone and think I can share a sister moment and say, when you went through this, that's why I don't talk about that. So there is no avenue in which you can vent and become whole. And that, by definition, is psychosis.
Right, exactly. Ooh, wow, heavy, sister.
Go ahead.
Heavy, sister.
So if you are angry and you're always feeling uncomfortable and you're feeling stressed, that's when you get ulcers. That's when you get leukemia.
Tell them about it.
Cancer.
Oh, wow.
Go ahead, sis.
So medicine, and I've talked to Brother Leroy, much of medicine today is social. It's not even clinical.
Right.
When you explore a situation, why is this not healing? Or why are you having recurrence of an autoimmune disease? Why are you losing your hair and you have alopecia? Why can't you sleep? Why are you obese? And when you start asking the question, it has nothing to do with the urine or the blood or chest x-ray.
Your head.
It has to do with someone holding on to a pain they can't release.
That's right. Oh, man. That's heavy. That's heavy. I'm sorry we couldn't get this. I'm sorry we couldn't get the Skype to work. I would have paid double what they wanted to charge us. I mean, we got to get you here in person. You just answered all my questions. My theory is just laid out by this doctor. Tell him. And Doc, I believe God's a woman anyway, so you save us all.
Dr. Bowles, give an example. You talked in principle. Give an example of some of those cases that you just laid out.
Okay, I'm going to take it very personal, and I haven't shared this very often because there was, like I said, a certain kind of shame or closet. When I listened to Clarence Thomas when he was getting all of his clarification, and Anita Hill came forward and started talking about how she had been violated by him when she was his clerk. And instead of people demonizing Clarence Thomas, they demonized Anita Hill.
Of course.
And I listened to that and shook my head and said, Anita, you don't have anything on me. I remember vividly and painfully where when I was doing medical school as a student doctor before I had gotten the MD, we were given a rounds, as they called it, and they didn't separate men from women. It would be a mixed group. But it was 130 medical students, and 13 of which were women. So it was not uncommon, particularly on obstetrics or gynecology or pediatrics, that we were given overnight quarters where you shared. In an instance, for me, it was 3 guys and 1 female. And they would play games to try to fix it where I could not go and get a shower without them being in a way to see me exposed. So I would have to go to the nurses' quarters to try to get a shower because otherwise a door would be open or a towel would be snatched off and I would be nude in front of 3 white men. There was no amount of complaint could change that. The problem going to the nurses' quarters is what doctors wear is a different scrub, and there's a different hierarchy. If you put on a nurse's uniform, then they'll treat you like a nurse, and that was the whole thing. The females had an issue with what to wear when they were doing the same rounds that their male counterpart. Well, the story I'm telling you has to do with, I knew at least 2 of the guys that I had to share a round with who were inappropriate. They had been inappropriate casually, even during a circumstance with lots of eyes and ears. So when I knew I had to bump, if you like, with them and be there for a 48-hour period, you're trying to snatch sleep anytime you can because you have to be ready to go.
Right.
I started wearing Dan Can Dance uniform. These are leotards that you pull on and then a bodysuit you put on after that. Then I would put on my scrubs. And the reason I did that, and thank God I did, I feared someone might try to be inappropriate on me while I slept.
Right.
Well, my fear was confirmed one morning about 2 a.m. I had been up for probably 16 hours straight. I came into this shared 4-bunk bed room, and nobody was there, so I took a bottom bunk and was in light sleep when I felt the weight of a person's body on mine, with their knee pressed between my thighs and their hand down the front of my pants. But because I had on my Dan Can Dance uniform, they couldn't progress. And he had the audacity to whisper in my ears. I was starting to wake up. What did you do? Stitch it? So when I wrestled him off, made my way out, regained what composure I could, my beeper went off. And guess what? I could not cry. I couldn't vent. I had to run to the beeper's call and do whatever it was required in that delivery room and act like I had not been violated. I never discussed it. I never had anyone to vent. And the next day when we were doing rounds, he stood right behind me, and I had to have him where I could feel his nostrils blowing air down the side of my neck, and I had to do whatever I could to stay in the program, and that's something I had to deal with on my own and alone.
You had no recourse to go to anyone at that time.
Well, his father was a big cheese at Mount Sinai Hospital.
Oh, wow.
And he knew it, and he took every liberty. And that was my sensing of him in general. And that's why I started. So imagine, if you can, as guys, what it's like to try to use the bathroom when you know your beeper can go off and you got 15 minutes to report to wherever they're calling you, and you have to take off a Dan Can Dance uniform. And if you didn't know, you have to start at your shoulders and peel it off, and you can't use the bathroom like a guy. You must take it off to use it.
Right.
So there were times that I might have to skip nature's call because I didn't have time to do what was necessary to respond. But these kinds of added weight, these added stressors did not make anybody say, well, you know, she's having to double clothes and sleep with one eye open and fear her colleagues when they got ready to say, what did she make on the last pathology exam? Or how well did she perform in the resuscitation of that premature baby? No one weighs in the added stressors that are inherent in being black female.
Amen.
Dr. Bowles, when you look at your situations, those personal situations, What in your background enable you to survive that with mental balance and
I'm laughing and
consciousness?
chuckling, brother, because you know where I'm going to go. I'm
Yeah.
going to share this, and you guys will appreciate. My father, born in 1916, so he trumped you guys,
Right.
was a very strong patriarch type person. And he told us a story around the dinner table when I guess I was about 9 or 10 about when he went to work in a small town in North Carolina when they told him they did not hire, and I don't need to finish there, but he told them, I'll do whatever, I need work.
Yeah.
They gave him a 15-pound sledgehammer and told him to go out and break up this steel wrecking ball, which was laying in the middle of the parking lot. And he knew that was a stupid request. But we said, Dad, what'd you do? He said, I went out
And did
and
exactly
I
that.
started to hit this ball with this hammer. And he said, I hit it and the ricochet was so hard that it almost pulled me off my feet on the back swing. And one of my brothers said, Daddy, why did you do that? He said, I hit it and I say, I have a wife and I want to keep her. And I hit it again and say, I have children and I want to feed them.
That's right.
And my dad beat that ball to the point that at lunchtime, the workers came to watch him beat the ball because I guess he was the monkey to keep them entertained. Mom came into the story and said, when your father got home, the body was still vibrating so much I had to feed him his dinner because he couldn't hold his fork. And when he finished, I let him soak in Epsom salt and rubbed him down in liniment. And the next morning at 5 a.m., I helped him get up out of the bed because he was too sore to get up on his own. And he reported back to that job, and the men were so shocked that they said, look, we didn't expect to see you again. If you want to cut the grass and sweep up in the meal room, we'll hire you.
Wow.
So whenever I have a situation,
You
I
think
don't
about
have a
that.
wife and I want to keep her. I don't have children, I don't have to feed her, but I'm my father's daughter.
And being black in America, you have to go through all trials and tribulation to survive.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Dr. Bowles, you are a treat. I mean, thank God for Dr. Bowles. Bring some common sense to people. Oh, man, you tell a story. I mean, see, but this is the struggle of a black woman. Now, I mean, I don't see any comparison between the struggle of a black woman and a black man. See, because females are the creators. You're the nurturers, and for you to be exposed to all these negativities that come from being black is 10 times as worse, because it's not your nature.
Well, see, people ask me, are you married? I say no. They say, have children? I say no. If I reflect, yes, all of that has permeated my character. My fear of bringing life to a world such as the one I've had to endure.
Wow.
The conviction that I have of men in general, that, you know, one focus says if you're black, you're supposed to love black. And then you try to go to black and they say, well, we don't have to work because you're a doctor, so they're going to pimp me. And then if I go the other way, you're not supposed to love white because that's your enemy. You tell me where I'm supposed to turn.
Wow.
Dr. Bowles.
Are you light-skinned?
No,
I'm a brown. I'm a paper bag brown woman.
Okay.
Dr. Bowles, when I talked to her, I said, black lady.
Yeah.
And she ain't got no problem with it. Dr. Bowles, listen, on the to give folks another aspect of your life and your expertise, share with us quickly a couple of illnesses that occur right around the time of holidays and how we can minimize or avoid being the victim of those illnesses.
Stress.
Well, we're right around the corner is July 4th, and my biggest surge in my clinical days were increases in hypertension, increases in congestive heart failure, and type 2 diabetes. And why was that is because we believe that 4th of July means grilled sausages. We get potato salad with pickles that have lots of seasoning and salt. And we eat with abandonment. You know, if we have one cookie, 4 is better. Some of us think you haven't had a party unless you drink a little beer or some kind of a carbonated drink. If you consume in great quantities foods that your body cannot properly digest, you will have an increase in blood pressure. You will have difficult to control glucose, which would be increase in sugar. And you can have a condition called bloatedness, which is reflux and flatulence. So one day, perhaps 4 to 6 hours of joy can give rise to several months of poorly controlled health and possible consequences such as stroke or heart attack. So when holidays come, you have to prepare to enjoy your friends and enjoy food, but not forget that when you're taking a pill for blood pressure, you're not cured. You're just delaying the effects. And a lot of people say, oh, I have medicine, so I don't have blood pressure. Yes, you do. You have medicine and whatever side effects the medicine causes, plus the potential of having consequences of that disease or disorder.
Talk about those little things that we miss. Talk about people fixing food with long nails.
My dad, my sister's actually visiting, and we laugh and we talk about how strict my dad was about certain hygiene. She's a nurse supervisor, so she's in healthcare also, and we're so glad that he was so strict. Anyone wearing nails that is greater than 1/8 inch beyond your fingertip will retain whatever they are touching. So if they scratch their head, there's some dandruff or dead skin under their nails. And if they scratch anywhere else, you can use your imagination. So that person, when they wash their hands, unless they have a nail brush or they use the type of tip that a surgeon does, they retain parts of things underneath their nail. So if you have anyone who's making biscuits and they knead with their hands, or they are serving at a table and they hand you your food, whether it's a piece of chicken or a piece of bread, you better look to see how long are the nails, because whether they're polished or not, long nails will give you a little extra with your meal.
I got a question for you, Doc.
Okay.
How do you cure these psychosis that you have from being black? How do
Wonderful question.
Is it love energy, which is my cure?
Okay.
That's what's kept me sane.
Well, I can tell you what is working, because it is a lifetime recovery.
Right.
First of all, it has to be admitted. One of the things that any therapist will tell you, secrecy brings shame.
Right.
So if I tell you my story, you can't look at me and say, that didn't make any sense, or what do you want me to do about it? If you dismiss me, you devalue me.
Right.
And if I can't feel like my experience is important, then I'm not important.
Right.
And I think that's why we have so much negativity. That if I see you succeeding, it can make me angry. Because I'm saying, if only I mattered, I would also succeed. So we need to fix that very system of valuation. I have to be somebody too. And whatever my experience is, if you can, I had someone tell me, this was a white male in authority, he says, I don't comprehend what you're trying to explain.
Right.
He said that to me. And I thought, so if you can't comprehend it, it doesn't exist?
What about the Willie Lynch syndrome?
What kind of syndrome?
The Willie Lynch syndrome, the light against the dark.
Well, I mean, that
There's
was
the biggest sickness that we have.
Slavery. I mean, the whole concept.
What's happening now? It's happening now.
If I can make you feel special for something you can't control, like, you know, in my family, my grandmother said we were like M&Ms. We were different color on the outside, but inside we were all chocolate.
Right.
So if you make me think that if I got straight hair, I'm better than you because you got kinky hair, and that's what I focus on, that is a distraction. And that distraction prevents us from really getting to know ourselves.
That's right. Oh, wow. We got to get you to Skype in one time. I mean, this Skype would have been wonderful. You know, because I think that's the problem that we had with Obama. Because I think most blacks didn't identify with Obama because his mother was white. And he tried too hard to be fair. And this, I think, is what we have to do with one another. We have to be fair with one another.
That's right.
No
Well,
matter what.
I believe President Obama was before his time. The nation he was trying to lead is not now.
Yeah.
He came on with an agenda saying all Americans are equal when that's not the facts of this country.
Well, he tried to make it true. He tried to get us to live by the Constitution. He tried to follow the rules. He fought, and he got us in trouble with with the Russians here because he tried to be too fair. I mean, you might not care about it, but he got us
we
Trump.
have yet to become. We are not the nation that he was trying to lead.
Right. Well, we only have a minute left. Doc, you've been a breath of sunshine. I mean, I really enjoyed this. I'm just so sorry we couldn't get the Skype going. But next time we have you on, when I can get Leroy back, or maybe we'll get Farrakhan next time, right? Oh,
Yeah,
this should
I love
be.
it. I haven't.
But Doc, this was a
I've interacted with him
joy.
3 times, but never personally. Yeah.
I mean, this is a joy, and I must meet you in person.
Yes, indeed.
You don't
well,
get
I
up.
was in New York. I came to the Sophie Davis Biotechnical Institute 3 years ago as their keynote speaker.
Okay.
And I was there at SUNY, yes.
Well, I'd love to see you next time you come to New York, or next time we can get your Skype in. We have to plan it.
Sounds great.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. God
Thank
bless.
you.
God bless you, sis.
All right. All right, bye now.
Bye now. Hey.
She's in Louisiana.
Oh, man. As a fill-in, this is what creative TV is all about. This is what being live at the Gilchrist Experience. Baby, I'm on. And, well, that was a joy. That was a treat, my man.
I just want to mention that on Saturday, July 15th at Muhammad Mosque number 7, there's going to be a town hall meeting on the fall of America, question mark.
Right.
What should black people be doing to save their families? What should black people be doing to save black youth?
Now that's what we started off with today. And thank you for coming.
Thank you, brother.
The God in me loves the God in you, and stay tuned for more of the Black Experience on the Gilchrist Experience. God bless. Power to the people.
Thank you, young brother.
Oh, that was good. She is a trip.